Welcome back, my wonderful friends, to our channel. If you are a fan of amazing dramas and captivating stories, you are exactly in the right place. In today's video, we have prepared a recap of an incredible series that will steal your heart from the very first moment and make you live every single detail alongside the characters. Before we dive into the events, please support us by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment below with your thoughts. Your support helps our family grow even bigger. Grab your favorite drink and let's begin. The film begins with a young man named June who wakes up one morning and decides to skip school. Instead, he wants to spend the day playing computer games. He finds a note from his mother asking him to go out to buy food and household supplies, but June ignores it and heads straight to his computer to play online with his friends. While they are playing, one of his friends in the game suddenly yells, "Turn on the TV right now and check the news." Driven by curiosity, June turns on the TV. A news anchor is speaking, but the broadcast is suddenly interrupted. He grabs his phone but finds that there is no signal. Looking out the window, he sees people running in panic, with some attacking each other for no apparent reason. Then, to his sheer horror, he witnesses a girl brutally biting another woman in a disturbing scene. June is stunned, unable to understand what is happening, and no help arrives. Shortly after, he hears people screaming inside his apartment building. He peeks through the door's peephole but sees no one. Just as he is about to open the door, his neighbor barges in. The man hysterically tells June, "Everyone outside has gone crazy. My brother came into my house fully transformed into a zombie and he tried to kill me. Please let me stay here for a while." However, June refuses and says, "If you have a problem, call the police." The neighbor tries to calm him down and begs, "Just let me use your bathroom and then I will leave." June agrees and lets him in. Meanwhile, the TV signal returns, and news reports indicate that communication networks are unstable and entire cities have descended into chaos due to a new infection. Those who get infected turn into zombies, who are extremely violent and driven by the desire to devour human flesh. Anyone who gets bitten will also transform. Among the symptoms is bleeding from the eyes accompanied by severe pain. June suddenly remembers his neighbor in the bathroom, and sensing danger, he goes to fetch a knife. The neighbor comes out covering a wound on his neck. June raises the knife in a defensive stance. The neighbor tries to calm him down, insisting, "I'm fine, I just need to stay for 1 hour." But June notices blood on the man's hand and begins to panic. Shortly after, the neighbor's eye starts bleeding. He catches a glimpse of himself in the mirror, lets out a terrifying scream, and his body begins to convulse violently. His limbs twist unnaturally until he completely transforms into a zombie and lunges at June, trying to bite him. June defends himself, manages to push him out of the apartment, and stabs him as the zombie tries to force his way back in. June locks the door just in time. Through the peephole, he sees a giant zombie attacking and devouring his neighbor's body. June is in utter shock and makes no sound. He is terrified that the zombies might hear him. Blood begins to seep from under the door. Frozen with fear, June drags a large refrigerator in front of the door to block any intruders. He rushes to the sink and washes his face with water, hoping that all of this is just a nightmare, but it is not. It is real. He tries to call his sister, but the network is very weak. Then a message from her finally arrives. The message says, "Don't worry about us. I am safe with Mom. Never open the door. Make sure the food you have is enough. Ration it carefully over the days. And beware of the zombies. The city is full of them." June looks at a photo of his family, praying for their safety. He gathers all the remaining food in the house and realizes how little there is. He is filled with regret. He should have listened to his mother and gone shopping. He falls asleep on the sofa. The next morning, news reports state that the outbreak is getting worse. More people are turning into zombies. A reporter asks a doctor what people should do. She replies, "Zombies become extremely violent and their actions are unpredictable. Everyone must stay indoors, lock down tightly, and stockpile enough food for at least 2 months. No one should leave their home until further notice." June sees people posting pictures online with their names and addresses, begging the army and police for help. Inspired by this, he writes his own details on a piece of paper, takes a picture, and uploads it in the hope of being rescued. He watches a video of a person going out to their balcony, holding their phone up high, trying to catch a signal and succeeding. But then the person loses their balance and falls off the balcony. This gives June an idea. He ties his phone to a drone and connects it to his VR headset to control it. He flies the drone into the sky, scouting the destroyed buildings and the roaming zombies below. He flies it higher in search of a signal. It works. He gets 1 bar of signal and quickly tries to call his sister. But just as the call is about to connect, the drone's battery dies and it crashes, taking his phone down with it. it. Despair takes over June. He slumps in front of his computer and tries to play games to kill time, but the network is still down. That night, he hears strange noises coming from the street. He peeks out the window, but suddenly a bullet barely misses him. Outside, a female police officer is trying to fend off a horde of zombies. She has run out of bullets. In desperation, she loads her last magazine, but it is not enough. Right before the zombies reach her, she tries to shoot herself, but fails. The gun drops, and the zombies drag her screaming across the street. June witnesses everything and sets his sights on the dropped gun. He needs it to protect himself. Suddenly, loud banging starts on his door. He grabs a baseball bat and braces for a confrontation. The banging is so forceful that the refrigerator blocking the door moves and falls over. To his sheer terror, a zombie appears from behind it. June realizes he cannot fight the zombie for long, so he runs toward the balcony, thinking of a daring escape plan. He rushes outside and pretends to jump. In reality, however, he merely hangs from the ledge, clinging tightly. The zombie chasing him jumps right after him, thinking that June had also jumped. But the zombie falls to its death. June looks down, sees the corpse, and feels a deep sense of relief. From a distance, he spots a massive horde of zombies roaming the streets. Among them, he notices the same police officer who had previously turned into a zombie. June hastens to close his apartment door and nails it shut with wooden boards to prevent any further intrusions. While assessing the damage inside, June sees that all the food he had left spilled out of the refrigerator during the earlier zombie attack. He feels devastated. These were his last provisions. At that moment, he hears a woman screaming in the street. He grabs his tablet and starts recording a video, saying, "This is my second day locked inside the house. I don't know what to do. It feels like a miracle that I am still alive." After 7 days of being trapped, June brings out a bottle of his late father's alcohol. There is nothing left to drink. We see that he has completely covered the balcony with sheets and barricades, so the zombies cannot spot him. He watches the news, which continues to show footage of zombies flooding the streets. He prepares instant noodles and eats, then accidentally drops his water bottle, spilling his last remaining clean water. Angry at himself, he is forced to drink water off the floor. Despite the circumstances, June still refuses to leave the house, even though he desperately wants the fallen police officer's gun. When he turns on the TV again, he finds the same broadcast. No progress, no solution. The anchors are still urging people to stay in their homes. More days pass without any updates. June begins to frequently drink his father's alcohol, eventually dancing aimlessly around the apartment in a drunken state. In his drunkenness, he starts hallucinating that his family has returned. He sees his mother and runs to hug her, only to snap out of it and realize that it was all a figment of his imagination. He breaks down crying from emotional exhaustion and dehydration. Later, June receives a voice message from his mother. Desperate to hear her voice, he climbs outside the window trying to catch a signal. The plan works. He manages to get a weak connection, and his mother answers. But what he hears shatters him. "We are at the Adaba company. There are zombies breaking in." Then he hears her and his sister screaming as the zombies attack them. The line goes dead. June cries hysterically. He is consumed by helplessness and anger. In a fit of madness, he smashes everything around him, including the TV. He eventually collapses, completely unhinged. He runs outside, kills the zombie at his door, and begins screaming and rampaging in the street. He sees his neighbor, now a full zombie, feeding on a corpse. The zombie starts to approach him, but June screams at it to back off. Unfortunately, the noise attracts the attention of nearby zombies. June runs toward the elevator, hoping to escape, but there's another zombie inside. He quickly flees and hides, holding his breath to remain silent. Eventually, he sneaks back to his apartment, but a blind zombie was right behind him. June stays perfectly still, silent and frozen. Fortunately, the blind zombie passes by without noticing him. He finally reaches his apartment, but the sound of him locking the door attracts the attention of the zombies. They start pounding on his door. June tightly grips the doorknob, resisting with all his might until the zombies finally give up and walk away. 20 days have now passed. June has finished all the alcohol. He looks outside and sees the electrical substations exploding. Soon, the entire building loses power. Despair sets in. He picks up his camera to make a final video, but he cannot even utter a single word. Emotionally devastated, he decides to end his life. He ties a rope and prepares to hang himself. As he begins to lose consciousness, a red laser suddenly shines on him from the apartment building across the street. It points to a sign that simply reads, "No." June snaps out of his attempt and unties himself. It turns out that a woman in the adjacent building named Kim had spotted him and was trying to stop him with her laser pointer. She continues to signal him using a board with written messages, asking him not to speak loudly to avoid alerting the zombies. They agree to communicate using hand gestures. She calls him a fool for considering suicide, and they agree to meet at their windows every morning at exactly 7 a.m. June smiles. He has found another survivor, and hope returns to his heart.
We cut to Kim in her apartment. She has set up traps at the doors and keeps weapons close to her. Fortunately, she has sufficient food supplies. The next morning, June wakes up and realizes he has slept in late. He rushes to the window and does not see her there, but Kim soon appears, cautiously checking the area before coming to the window. She scolds him. He was late. He apologizes, and they introduce themselves to each other. Suddenly, Kim spots a zombie inside her apartment. She tells June that they will meet at the window again tomorrow at 7. She goes back inside and sees the zombie caught in one of her traps, hanging. Calmly, she grabs a hammer and finishes it off. That night, it starts to rain. June and Kim seize the opportunity to collect rainwater using every cup and pot they can find. The next morning, June appears at the window, visibly starving. Kim notices this and decides to send food to him. She tries to throw him a ball attached to a rope so they can build a line between the two apartments, but she fails. The distance is too great.
Then June brings out a second drone that he had. This time, he ties a string to it. He flies the drone over to Kim's apartment, successfully connecting the line between them. Kim manages to send a bag of food to June using the rope, and he is overwhelmed with joy when he receives it. He sincerely thanks her, but his happiness quickly turns into panic when he notices a disaster unfolding outside. A zombie in the street has grabbed the rope she threw and is now pulling it with extreme force. The table securing the rope starts to slide, dragging Kim with it. She falls unconscious, and the table ends up hanging outside, right in front of her window. The zombie takes advantage of the situation and begins climbing the rope toward her. June, seeing this, is desperate to do something. He starts throwing bottles at the zombie to stop it, but they fall short. The creature continues climbing undeterred. Thinking fast, June launches his drone and flies it straight at the zombie. He circles around it, trying to distract it. The plan works. The zombie becomes disoriented. Meanwhile, a larger group of zombies starts surrounding June's building, attempting to break in. The climbing zombie grabs the drone, but just as it is about to reach her window, Kim regains consciousness. She grabs a weapon and severs the zombie's hand, killing it before it can get any closer. The zombies below scream at her in rage. Meanwhile, June wraps duct tape around his shoes to muffle the sound of his footsteps and grabs a stick. He sneaks out of his apartment and catches sight of a part of his neighbor's body on the floor. He takes the neighbor's keys and breaks into the apartment. Inside, he heads straight to the refrigerator and takes all the food he can carry. In one of the rooms, he finds a motionless body lying there. He cautiously checks to see if it is alive or dead. Suddenly, a zombie lunges at him from behind. June uses the corpse as a shield and escapes, running for his life. But fortunately, he makes it back to his apartment safely. Feeling relieved, June enjoys the food he has gathered and prepares a ration to send to Kim, along with a walkie-talkie he found in the other apartment. The next day, they communicate through the walkie-talkies. June is overjoyed to finally talk to someone. Kim thanks him for the food, admitting that she ate it all. June replies, "I should be the one thanking you. You saved my life." But Kim replies humbly, "I didn't save your life. You were the one who wanted to live. I just gave you a reason to hold on to life." June smiles and tells her, "Either way, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't even be here right now." They change the subject and start cooking at the same time, sharing casual conversations throughout the day. They get to know each other more. Kim admits that she is afraid of heights. June is surprised, saying, "How can a woman who severed a zombie's hand be afraid of heights?" Kim laughs and says, "I don't consider them human anymore. That's why it was easy for me." Suddenly, they both hear what they think is rain and get excited about collecting water, but they quickly realize it is not rain at all. It is the sound of a massive horde of zombies running toward the building. In a panic, both June and Kim drop to the floor, trying not to make a sound. But Kim accidentally knocks over a table. The loud crash draws the zombies toward her apartment. Terrified, she calls June on the walkie-talkie and tells him what just happened. June does not hesitate, but rather devises a distraction plan. He calls the landline of another apartment in Kim's building. The ringing sound draws the zombies away from Kim's unit, buying her precious time. The two then agree that it is time to escape the buildings and find a safe place. Kim believes that the 8th floor of a certain nearby building is free of zombies. She had been observing it for days and hadn't seen any movement. With determination, Kim decides to go first. She ties herself to a rope and climbs out the window. On her way down, she encounters multiple zombies, but she fights them off with precision, using her weapons and sheer willpower. Despite their numbers, she handles them like a professional. June watches in awe. She retrieves the gun that had been lying on the ground, but just as a zombie is about to bite her, June rushes down and joins the fight. Together, they fight side by side to fend off the creatures. They manage to escape and run toward the building Kim had mentioned. Once inside, they forcefully shut the door, but the glass is weak and will not hold for long. The zombies start breaking it down. June and Kim quickly rush to the elevator, arriving barely in time, and enjoy a moment of safety. They reach the 8th floor and begin inspecting the hallway. There is no sign of any zombies. They try to open some of the apartment doors, but they are all locked. Then they suddenly see a zombie approaching from behind. Within seconds, an entire army of zombies appears. June closes a large iron gate across the hallway to delay the horde, buying them time, and begins to attack. Eventually, Kim manages to open one of the apartment doors, but someone suddenly pulls her inside. That person throws a smoke grenade to cover their movements and calls out to June to follow. June rushes inside, and for a brief moment they find safety, but Kim feels suspicious and asks, "Who are you?" The man introduces himself as Shang and says, "You two should thank me." Kim remains confused and says, "I was certain there was no one on the 8th floor." He replies, "I thought I was the only one alive in this entire area." He offers them some water, but Kim hesitates until he drinks from the same bottle. Only then does she feel safe enough to drink as well. Sun offers them food as well, saying, "Eat this while we wait for the rescue team." Both June and Kim feel shocked and hopeful upon hearing that a rescue team is coming. Sun explains, "I saw it on TV." Overwhelmed with joy, June hugs Kim, feeling that there is finally a chance for survival. However, just a few minutes later, June suddenly collapses. He has been drugged. It turns out that Sun had slipped a tranquilizer into the food. Kim does not have time to react, and she collapses as well. Shang drags Kim across the floor to another room, ties her up, and locks her inside. When Kim regains consciousness, she finds herself face to face with a chained zombie beside her. Then she hears Shang's voice from behind the door. He begins to release the zombie toward her. Shockingly, Sun reveals the truth. This zombie was previously his wife. He wants her to feed on any living human to survive. That is why he locked Kim inside. He is offering her as food to his undead wife. At that moment, June wakes up and points the gun at Sun, calling him a monster. Sun, desperate, says, "I am just trying to save my wife from death." He then releases the zombie's chain and tells June, "Let her eat Kim and I will let you live. I will even give you all the food you want." He begs June to agree, but June struggles to hold onto the chain. It slips from his hand and the zombie gets closer to Kim, who screams in terror. June hysterically tries to open the door and Sun falls to the ground. Then suddenly, Kim goes silent. Thinking it is over, Shang opens the door to check, but his zombie wife turns on him and attacks him. At that moment, Kim grabs the gun and aims at them. Sun does nothing. He allows himself to be eaten. He says, "Let her feed," offering himself willingly. Kim, left with no other choice, pulls the trigger and kills both Shang and the zombie. However, the gunshots echo throughout the building and every zombie in the area hears them. They begin swarming toward the apartment. Kim and June hear the growling and heavy footsteps. Dread sets in. They fear that this is truly the end. Kim hands the gun to June and begs, "Shoot me!" June hesitates, shocked and crying, but before he can do anything, they suddenly hear the sound of helicopters overhead. They rush to the window and spot military helicopters flying in circles. They hurry toward the roof, throwing smoke grenades as signals and fighting zombies along the way. While climbing the stairs, Kim slips and falls, but June saves her and yells at her to go up first and stop the helicopter. She reaches the roof, but by the time June follows her and locks the door behind him, the helicopters are gone. They have left. June stands in disbelief. He screams, begging for help from anyone who might still be listening. The zombies break through the roof door and rush toward them. June also fires his last bullets, but the gun only makes an empty click afterward. Just as they prepare to die, a military helicopter suddenly appears and opens fire on the zombies. The soldiers shoot every single one of them, clearing the roof. They call out to June and Kim, who climb aboard. The helicopter takes off into the sky. They are safe. As they fly over the ruined city, they hear a radio broadcast announcing that more than 50,000 people have been infected. The city has become practically unpopulated. The broadcast then mentions how the army discovered June's location, thanks to the picture he uploaded online. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Until we meet again soon, don't forget to show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye, my wonderful friends.